Imagine this, a glacier slowly melting. The ice creaks, drips, gives way, and what it hides inside begins to emerge. Not just water, not just rocks. Out come bones, skin, organs, and something even more valuable, perfectly preserved DNA. Ice isn't just cold, it's compressed memory, a time capsule that has kept secrets for millennia. Each melting layer is a page from Earth's history, a history we are only just beginning to read. But beware, some stories shouldn't be read, at least not yet, because what we buried is starting to awaken. And this is not science fiction. It's happening right now, while you watch this screen. Science doesn't just observe, science acts. Today on CurioMax, you'll discover the 5 extinct animals that could soon walk the Earth again, thanks to the advancement of biotechnology and, paradoxically, climate change. And the most unsettling part isn't that we can do it, it's that we're already trying. Top 5. The Tasmanian tiger. The Tasmanian tiger, also known as the thylacine, is not a legend. It was a real predator, unique in its kind. A carnivorous marsupial with stripes like a tiger, the pouch of a kangaroo, and a jaw so flexible it could open up to 120 degrees. So wide it looked unnatural. For thousands of years it ruled the ecosystems of Australia and Tasmania. But when European settlers arrived, they accused it of attacking livestock. They hunted it, chased it, and systematically exterminated it. The last known thylacine died in a zoo in 1936, or at least that's what we think. Since then, blurry photos, strange videos, credible testimonies, and even sighting maps have appeared. But most importantly, science no longer needs to find a living one. Scientists in Australia and the US are reconstructing its genome from similar species. They are using cloning and synthetic biology techniques to bring it back. The thylacine could return. It could walk again among Tasmania's trees. It could silently hunt once more, as if it had never left. And if that happens, it will no longer be just a symbol of what we lost. It will be a living warning of how far we're willing to go. Top 4. The dodo. The dodo, the world's most famous bird morphoid, because it's extinct. Big, clumsy, and trusting, it lived on Mauritius Island. It feared neither humans nor the predators that came with them, and that doomed it. Less than a century after European contact, the dodo disappeared completely. But now, 4 centuries later, its story might be rewritten. The lab Colossal Biosciences, yes, the same one working to bring back the woolly mammoth, has launched an ambitious project to revive the dodo. They're using modern pigeons as a genetic base and are editing DNA to reconstruct the essence of this vanished bird. But the big question isn't whether they can revive it, it's why. Some scientists imagine dodos walking again through reforested Mauritius. Others envision an even more intriguing scenario. Dodos adapted to urban life, coexisting with humans, pigeons, and seagulls like a new kind of city bird. And if that happens, maybe the dodo will stop being a symbol of failure and become an emblem of life's second act. Top 3. The Sicilian dwarf elephant. It sounds like something out of Pixar, but it's real. The Sicilian dwarf elephant existed. It was a tiny elephant, the size of a large dog, that lived on islands like Sicily, Malta, and Cyprus. Its small size was the result of an evolutionary adaptation known as island dwarfism, which happens when a species becomes isolated in a predator-free environment. Today, we know its DNA is surprisingly well preserved, and very similar to that of the Asian elephant. That means, with the right tools, we could bring it back with few modifications. And if we succeed, why not imagine it living among us? Some scientists are already wondering if it could become the first extinct species to also be a companion species. Imagine an elephant walking in the park on a leash. Imagine families adopting miniature elephants instead of dogs. It sounds like science fiction, but biotechnology makes it possible. And if it happens, the question won't be whether we can bring species back. It will be, how will we live with them? Top 2. The elephant bird of Madagascar. It was huge, silent, slow. A prehistoric creature that lived until relatively recent times on the island of Madagascar. The elephant bird could reach over 3 meters in height and weigh up to 500 kilos. Its eggs were larger than a soccer ball. It went extinct due to human hunting and habitat destruction. But its legacy lives on. Its closest relatives, the ostrich and cassowary, have given us enough genetic clues to reconstruct it. AI already shows us what it would look like today. An imposing being, moving slowly across open plains or skirting rural towns, watching without fear. Maybe it would return to Madagascar. Maybe it would adapt to a new environment. But its return forces us to ask, what happens when we bring a giant back to a world no longer made for it? What if they really came back? So far, we've talked about the possible, the incredible, but now it's time to imagine the inevitable. What will happen if they really return? Imagine a park full of children, and among them, a flock of dodos. They don't fly, they're not afraid, they're part of the urban landscape. Or imagine a child petting their dwarf elephant before bed. dead, or a family feeding elephant birds from their rural home's terrace. And then think of the consequences of what could go wrong. Because bringing back an extinct species isn't just an act of power, it's an ethical, political, and ecological declaration. Can we control them? What happens if they affect the climate? What if an ancient disease revives with them? These are questions once only asked in movies like Jurassic Park, but today, they're about to become real. Top 1. The woolly mammoth. The woolly mammoth is, without a doubt, the extinct animal closest to returning. It lived during the Ice Age, roaming vast regions of northern Asia, Europe, and North America. It was gigantic, covered in thick brown fur with curved tusks that might measure up to 4 meters. But the most impressive thing isn't its appearance, it's preservation. Thanks to the melting Siberian permafrost, we now have access to skin, muscles, bones, even organs and stomach contents. And most valuable of all, viable DNA. Scientists from South Korea and the US have been collecting samples and reconstructing its genetic code for over a decade. The goal isn't just to bring back a single individual, but to create a functional hybrid with mammoth genes inserted into Asian elephant embryos. Why? So these modern mammoths can return to Arctic ecosystems and help restore what's been lost, flattening the ground, removing snow, letting the cold penetrate the soil, and slowing down the thaw. In other words, they wouldn't just be a scientific experiment, they'd be a climate tool. AI has already shown us images of what they'd look like today. Walking among wind turbines alongside climate monitoring stations, coexisting with modern humans. They'd be part of the future, even though they come from the past. But the big question remains, would it really be a mammoth if we made it? So far, we've talked about hope, but we also need to talk about limits. Not everything that went extinct deserves to return. We now know there are viruses frozen in the permafrost that are over 30,000 years old. Some have been reactivated in the lab. They're real, they're active, and our immune system has no defense against them. There are also super predators like the megalodon, a giant shark over 15 meters long, which went extinct because the ocean could no longer support it. What would happen if we brought it back? What ecosystem would receive it? What species would be its prey? And let's not forget extinct plants. Some could behave like pests, destroy crops, alter pollination cycles, displace current species. Extinction, in many cases, was the planet's response, a correction of balance. Reviving everything without criteria could turn science into a double-edged sword. And here's where I want to speak directly to you. CurioMax isn't just a YouTube channel. It's a community of curious minds, of people who don't just consume content, but question it, imagine it, expand it. If this video made you think, sparked your curiosity, or simply surprised you with a concept or image, I invite you to be an active part of this space. Leave me a comment. Which extinct animal would you like to see come back, and why? Subscribe if you want to keep exploring ideas like this, and hit like if you appreciate the effort behind every visual story we build together. This is just the beginning, and what's coming will be even more surprising. To close, I want to leave you with one last thought. So far, we've talked about animals, but what if they're not the only ones that could come back? What about civilizations buried under the ice? Forgotten languages? Ancient knowledge once considered too dangerous to keep alive? What about viruses that don't kill, but transform? About art, symbols, ideas we froze out of fear or ignorance? What's emerging from the ice isn't just biology, it's history, it's a warning, it's power, and it's a question echoing through the glaciers. Are we ready yet for what we buried to return? Because coming back doesn't always mean coming back the same, and what returns could change everything.